am so honored to be with all of these, as my girlfriend Sandra Cisneros would say, chingona women. So happy. Please, please sit. I have to tell you all how Adelante came to be, because it was something I would have never really thought. As many of you know, I was running Telemundo. I was like Latina Tyler Perry, making a lot of Latino shows. And a number of years ago, I took a sabbatical to go back to school. Because in 2008, when the economy crashed, all the years that I had been working, some of my bosses had said to me, when you start working and making money, buy commercial real estate. And I had bought buildings, and those buildings were paying me rent. And in 2008, when my TV business crashed, I was making a lot of money with the rents of my buildings. And my husband said to me, if you were to die in a year, what would you regret? And I said that I didn't finish school. So I went back to school, I took a sabbatical, and I got a master's and doctorate in clinical psychology, which I'm more proud of than everything else I did. Thank you. And I'm very proud that I was able to tell my son that I went back and paid for my own school and went to school, because like many of us, when we're growing up as immigrants in this country, we have to take care of our families. And so it's a pain. It's not that we don't want to go to school, it's that sometimes we can't. In those 4 years that I went back to school, Rudy Becerra asked me to be on Coke's advisory board. And when I got on the board with a lot of other companies, McDonald's and Walmart, I'm like, Rudy, what the heck am I doing on this board? Why am I here? And the president of Coke, Sandy Douglas, said to me, Nely, and you remember Rudy, he said, Nely, Latinas are the emerging market in this country. You are the leaders of all the other emerging markets around the world of women. You are the fastest growing entrepreneurs, and yet you are missing a lot of information. You're all working hard, not smart. If you could take, Nely, I think you're the one to do it. If you could take this information to Latinas, in one generation, they could change the entire economic outlook of Latinos in America. And at first I was almost like overwhelmed by that. I'm like, God, dude, I can't take that on right now. I went back to school, give me a break. You know how that everybody gives us more jobs to do, right? But I decided to write my dissertation about Latinas in America, which was the single hardest thing I've ever done. I gained 25 pounds doing it. It was so painful. But in writing it, I realized that Latinas are the answer, not just to this country, but to the world. It almost makes me cry. And we don't have the right stuff to do it. We didn't have the right information. We don't think we're chingonas enough. We're not taking charge enough. And so when I finished the dissertation, I showed it to Sandy Douglas. And he said, Nely, you just wrote the business plan of what you need to do next. And if you do it, we'll support you. And that's how Adelante was born. And it has been the most magical experience of my life, the last 3 years, traveling city by city, meeting Latinas all over the country. Some women who were, the husbands left them. They had 3 kids. They started little stores on eBay, and now they're millionaires. Women who are hungry. Women who have been disappointed by life. Women who say, I thought my husband was going to help me out and do it for me. I thought my kids, I thought the boss was going to give me that raise. And what I realized is that the answer for all of us is to become self-made. I love Sheryl Sandberg, and I'm so happy she started the conversation with Lean In. But Lean In isn't really most of our stories. Most of us don't go to Harvard and have 3 bosses that get me the next job. And if we're not even invited to the table, how are we going to lean in? So if we don't go do it for ourselves, it's never going to happen. When I was 22 years old, I ran a little rinky-dinky TV station, Channel 47 in New York. But my 2 bosses, who were billionaires, owned the station. And like all of us, I worked like a dog 24 hours a day and kind of hardly ever saw my bosses because I always did such a good job, they didn't have to worry about it. 3 years later, I walk into work one day, and they had sold the company. And I wasn't even thinking about money. I was thinking, like, this is my baby. And I went to my boss, and I go, how could you do this to me? How could you not tell me you were going to sell the company? And he goes, young lady, those are my chips. You want to play? Go get your own chips. And I was so mad at him. But I realized he did me the biggest favor of my life. Because like all of us, because we have it in us, we get mad, right? And we go, este viejo, ¿quién se cree que es este viejo? And I go, I'm just as smart as he is. I'm going to start my own company. I will never work for anyone again. And I decided to start a business. And for 4 years, I did not make one penny. And my parents were like, niña, se te va a ir la belleza, búscate un esposo. But that old man, the very few times I was with him, he said, when I was your age, I started a business. It took me 10 years. I didn't make money for 10 years. And then I became a millionaire. And I go, well, I'm only on year 4. So I would have these fights with God. I would say, God, please throw me a bone, please. I'm a good girl. Can you help me out? And in the 4th year, I got my first piece of business, and I was off. And it doesn't mean it has been easy, because life is not easy, as we all know, and certainly not for women. So I just want to share with you what are the things I have learned on my journey, because I feel like I so love being with you, because sometimes we forget that leaders need mentorship too, that we lose our way, that sometimes we get down and out, and we can't tell anybody because we lead other people. And so I want to help all of you and tell you that Adelante is for you too. I don't want to see all of us being viejitas that have helped everyone in the community and we're broke. I don't want that. I want us all to work because we want to and not because we have to. And that's what I'm here. Every single person here has to cultivate an entrepreneurial side. Even if you don't leave your nonprofit or your business, a little part of you, and that's what we're going to show you how to do in the next workshop, has to own something. And then teach your kids how to cultivate the entrepreneur gene. So let me tell you what I've learned and how I was able to sustain those 4 years and all the ups and downs afterwards. I've had to reframe all the negative things in my life. Number one, if you read my resume, it sounds really great. If you saw my failure resume, it would be 3 times longer. I've had to make fear and failure my best friends. In Silicon Valley, if you fail, they're like, good job, you failed, next one. And nosotros como Latinas, we see failure as shame. Ay, Dios mío, I'm going to crawl under a rock. And I have found that around my greatest failures, around the corner was my greatest success. So we have to cultivate feeling bad, mourning, and getting up again and doing it again. Next, next, next. Failure is nothing. It's just part of the journey. Fear is something that is not real. It's not truth. It's just a feeling que pasa. Everybody says to me, you're so fearless. I go, I am the most fearful person. I have fear every day of my life. But I know that it's no big deal. It's a marker. It just tells me, okay, I'm feeling afraid. That means I have to do it. I have to go do it. It's not the end of the world. And I always do. I found that in your deepest pain is your answer. We try to sweep our pain under the rug, sweep immigration, what we've gone through in our countries of origin, what we go through here, what we've gone through in relationships, in companies. In that pain is the answer of what you're supposed to do. I've made money on my pain. I've made television shows about my pain. Everyone here, there's not a pain you can mention that I can't create a business off of. So go to your pain. As a writer, you can't write good work if you don't go to your pain. As a singer, you can't sing beautifully if you don't go to your pain. As an entrepreneur, you have to go to your pain to make money. I hate to say it, I know we all love you men, but I think it's important to say that when I've done my best work is when I realize there is no Prince Charming. There is no Prince Charming. And what I mean by that, it's not fair to men to put that on them. They're not here to be our saviors, they're here to be our mates. It's not fair to put that on a boss, that I expect him to, and by the way, Prince Charming men, there's no Princess Charming either, okay? Okay. And you know what, how I got over the Prince Charming thing is I started buying myself a lot of jewelry. Because I realized every time a man would give me jewelry, I'd be like, really? That's the best you could do? I go, I could do better, so I will. And so we have to take charge of our own happiness. A boss cannot be your Prince Charming either. He can't be your savior. Oh, because I kill myself and I do all the work and he takes all the credit, he's going to give me that raise. It's not going to happen. Give yourself a raise. Start your own business. And so when I really mourned that and let it go, I was able to make myself happy, and all the men in my life became icing on the cake. I think it's important to say that to be chosen, you have to choose yourself. We sometimes want someone to see in us what we don't even see in ourselves. You know, if we don't love ourselves the most, if we don't advocate for ourselves the most, how is anyone else going to see that in us? I think for those of us that love giving back to our community, life has to be lived in parallel tracks, mission and money. If you give so much that then you have no money and time to make money for yourself, you're not a congruent person. Mission and money, you have to take care of yourself first. You have to be whole first. Or when you're giving to people, they're sucking you dry and you will resent them. You will resent them. You know I say don't buy shoes, buy buildings. And for me, literally, it's been true. But I think for Latinas, we have to think, dream a bigger dream. You know, sometimes we buy or we get little things that take us through the bad moments instead of having a really big dream and sacrificing and for a really big dream. And we are so afraid to fail or be disappointed, back to fear and failure, that we don't dream big enough. The world is your oyster, ladies. The #1 emerging market in the world is sitting here. You can have anything you want. Every corporation will give you money. The government has money earmarked for you, and we're not applying for it. And I think the most important thing I could say to you is, go get your own chips. We all in some way have to go get our own chips. And how we do it is by committing every day to growing by any means necessary. We have to look to others. If we have to go get therapy, we have to go get therapy. I'll do free shrinkage on all of you. If we have to go get a coach, if Kobe Bryant can have a coach, why can't we have coaches? Whatever it takes to be the highest and best use of ourselves. Because, you know, listening to the Pledge of Allegiance and all that, I realize no one is more grateful to be in this country than us. No one is more privileged. Last year, I went on a trip around the world, and I met the us's in the rest of the world. And there is no way any of them could go from zero to being self-made in one lifetime. In countries like India and China and Africa, where there are caste systems, in countries where we all come from, we could not be us. So, como diablos, we're not going to take the bull by the horns and go get it. We've got to go get it. We got to go get our own chips. And I hope you hear that. Okay. We're going to show you how to go get your own chips. So right after this incredible workshop with my colleague, Leila Awile, and I, we're going to tell you the 10 questions you have to ask yourself and how to go start your own business, or at least start a business on the side. Don't miss it. I love you all, and adelante to all of us. Thank you.